Croeso Pub to the games under £16 PSN sale. This sale finishes on the 30th of November, so that'll be your last day to pick up these deals. If any of you guys have a PS5 or if you're planning to get one, don't forget it has a PS Plus collection with 20 free games, and a lot of those games are in these sales, so make sure you're not buying games that you're going to get for free. Okay guys, let's look at the games. Our first game is Astrobot Rescue Mission. It was released in 2018, which makes it 2 years old, and it's on a 62% discount for a price of £12.99, which is a pretty decent price, especially for VR games. This game is the PlayStation VR's premier 3D platformer. It's a really cool, fun game, and it's very interesting to play in VR, and they make really good use of the VR when you're playing it. I own this myself. I haven't had a chance to complete it yet, but I'm really looking forward to playing it when I get the time. Definitely worth looking at. Up next is the Batman Arkham collection. It was released in 2018, so it's 2 years old, but it's a bundle of games that were made before that, so keep that in mind. It's on a 68% discount for a price of £15.99, which is really good, and is pretty much as cheap as I ever see this bundle. Now be careful because the first one's on sale as well, but it's over £10, which is crazy when you can get all three for £16. And don't forget the third game is free in the PS5 PS Plus collection, so keep that in mind. These games are some of the best superhero games you can buy, and they're also really good third-person action games. If you've never played these, this is pretty much the best way to get them. The next game's a bit of a maybe, Beast Quest. It was released in 2018, so it was 2 years old, and it's on an 85% discount for a price of £3.74, which is really cheap. This is based on a bunch of kids' fantasy books, and the game kinda looks like an indie rip-off of Zelda. Now the graphics look kind of basic, but it is an indie game, and the price is really cheap. I can't wholeheartedly recommend this for anyone, but if you're a fan of the books, or you like the idea of a kid-friendly third-person adventure, this might just be for you. Our next game is one of the PSVR's best, Blood and Truth. It was released in 2019, so it's only a year old, and is on a 63% discount for a price of £12.94, which is really good, and pretty much the cheapest I've seen it. This game was based on The Heist from the PlayStation World's demo game. In this game you basically get to star in your own blockbuster movie, by shooting your way through a load of villains and amazing action sequences in order to save your family. I've bought this because I had to have it, and I highly recommend anyone with a PSVR pick it up too. It's one of the best games they have. Blood Bowl 2 Legendary Edition is our next game. It was released in 2017, so it's 3 years old, and is on an 80% discount for a price of £4.99, which is really good, especially considering it includes £24 worth of DLC. The DLC includes new modes, 16 races, new stadium, and a load of other features as well. This game is a mixture of American football and Warhammer 40k. I hear nothing but good things about this from the people that play it. So if you like Warhammer 40k, or maybe you feel like trying a really different sports game, take a look at this because it's a really good deal. Dark Souls 3 is our next game. It was released in 2016, so it's 4 years old, and it's on a 75% discount for a price of £11.24, which isn't bad, but it doesn't include any DLC. The DLC for it is on sale as well. It's on a 50% sale for £9.99, so it's kind of disappointing that they didn't bundle the DLC in with it for a complete edition. But if you like the Dark Souls series, this is a decent price. And then it's up to you whether you feel like picking up the season pass as well. But I'd be tempted to wait for the deluxe edition to go on sale instead. Or maybe even a remastered version on the PS5, since that would probably include all of the DLC. Another VR game is next, Deracine. It was released in 2018, so it's 2 years old, and it's on a 67% discount for a price of £8.24, which is really decent. This VR game requires Move controllers, so if you don't have them, you can't play it. This is from Software, who are a legendary developer, and it's a VR adventure where you play a fairy, affecting people's lives around you. It looks like a pretty interesting game, and like I said, it's from a really good studio, so it's worth looking at just for that. Next up is one of my favourite VR games, Everybody's Golf VR. It was released in 2019, so it's a year old, and it's on a 67% discount for a price of £8.24, which is really good. It's the cheapest I've seen it. This is the best golfing game on PlayStation VR. If you like golf games, or you're even considering one for VR, this is essential for you. I love it, I can't recommend it highly enough. Definitely think about it if you've got a PSVR. Farpoint is our next game. It was released in 2017 and is 3 years old. It's also on a 50% discount for a price of £7.99, which is really good. This is pretty much as cheap as I would expect it to go. This game can be played in VR, and to be honest, if you don't have a PlayStation VR, I wouldn't recommend picking it up because it's pretty mediocre on a TV. But if you've got VR, it's pretty much one of the best AAA quality first-person shooters you'll get in VR. And it supports the aim controller as well, which is awesome. I have this game, and I have the aim controller, and I have to say this game is mind-blowing. It's definitely the best first-person shooter I've played on PSVR. Blood and Truth is probably the only other game that comes close. I'd recommend getting it with the aim controller, so you'd have to look around the shops for the bundle that comes with the controller. But if you already have the aim controller, or you're happy to play it without the aim controller, this is a good deal. Good news, our next game's not a VR game. Garagoa. It was released in 2018, so it's 2 years old, and it's on a 60% discount for a price of £4.79, which is really decent. This is a really unique and awesome puzzle game. It messes with perspective, with a really unique hand-drawn art style. If you like puzzle games, especially different and interesting ones, this will pique your interest once you've seen a trailer of it. I love puzzle games, and this one is definitely different and piques my interest a lot, so you should definitely think about it if you like puzzle games. Even if only a little bit, it's worth looking at. Next up is my star buy, Just Cause 3. It was released in 2015, so it's 5 years old, and it's on an 80% discount for a price of £3.19, which is so cheap. And this game is amazing, it's so much fun. It's an open world third-person action game, where you play as Rico, who's a freedom fighter trying to take back his island home from an evil dictator. Basically run around the island, bringing justice and freedom to the locals. And it has a load of cool features like parachutes and gliding and grappling hooks that you can attach to different things and then they pull things together, or remote control mines. It's really hard to explain, but there's just so many fun gameplay mechanics in this, it's a ton of fun. If you like wandering around in GTA causing chaos, you'll love this game because it's way better than that. And it's dirt cheap. Like I said, it's my star buy. You should definitely take a look at it. LEGO Marvel Super Heroes 2 Deluxe Edition is our next game. It was released in 2017, so it's 3 years old, and it's on a 72% discount for a price of £14.99, which is not bad. There are a load of LEGO games on sale, but this seems like the best deal to me, because it includes £12 worth of DLC, which is nearly the price of the game on sale. Everybody should know what the LEGO games are by now, but if you don't, they're a third-person action platformer, and they're based on a load of movie franchises. So if you're not into Marvel, then there's plenty of other ones on sale. Lord of the Rings, Jurassic Park, DC, there's loads. Take a look at them, they're fun for your kids and your family. Just keep in mind that some of them are better deals than others. Up next is Little Nightmares Complete Collection. It was released in 2017, so it's 3 years old, and it's on a 75% discount for a price of £5.99, which is really good. And it includes £8 worth of DLC, which is great. This game is a horror platformer and was critically acclaimed when it was released. So if you're a fan of puzzle platformers, or you like creepy horror games, you'll love this. Halloween may be over, but there's still some great horror games to play, just like this. Lords of the Fallen Complete Edition is next. It was released in 2016, so it's 6 years old, and it's on an 85% discount for a price of £3.74, which is really cheap. Especially considering it includes £12.99 worth of DLC, including a new location, a quest line, weapons and armor, which is a lot for your money. This game is basically a Norse-themed Souls-like game, so if you like Dark Souls or Soul-like games, then you should look at this because it's really cheap and it's pretty well thought of. Definitely one for the Soul fans to look at. Our next game is Ni no Kuni 2, Revenant Kingdom. It was released in 2018, so it was 2 years old, and it's on at least a 79% discount for a price of £9.99 or £7.59 with PS Plus. I have the first game with this and I loved it. It's got really in-depth stories and amazingly animated anime cutscenes to tell the story. This game plays differently to the first one. It's more like a traditional RPG, so if you like JRPGs or anime, you might want to check this game out, because it's real quality. Next is Shadow of the Colossus. It was released in 2018, so it was 2 years old, but it's a remake of a PlayStation 2 game, so it's much older than that really. It's on a 75% discount for a price of £7.49, which is quite cheap. This game was legendary when it was originally released, and is still well thought after now, even all these years later and through the multiple re-releases. It's a third-person action-adventure game, and if you've never heard of this game, you really should look at it, because you might not end up picking it up, but when it's got the legendary status that this game has, it's at least worth looking at, just in case. A stealthy game next, Styx Shards of Darkness. It was released in 2017 and is 3 years old, and it's on a 70% discount for a price of £4.79, which is really good. This game is a really good stealth game, set in an interesting fantasy world as well, where you have a load of different abilities and stuff, and it's mainly set in underground cities. I've played a bit of the first game and I loved it, and the second one looks just as good, with more of the same. So if you're looking for a stealth game, this is definitely a franchise you should check out. The Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls collection is next. It was released in 2016, but they're a remake of PS3 games, so they're really older than that. They're on a 67% discount for a price of £8.24, which is really good because it's 2 full games. This is made by the same people who made Detroit Become Human, so if you played that and loved it like I did, you might want to check these games out as well. But be careful because they're both on sale individually, and individually they're nearly the same price as this bundle for the both of them. They're both story-driven adventure games where you make choices along the way and get to see different outcomes and endings for the story dependent on your choices, just like Detroit. So if you want more of the same, have a look at these, they're really good. An old school collection is next, the Jak and Daxter collection. It was released in 2017, so it's 3 years old, but again they're PlayStation 2 games, so they're much older than that. It's on a 63% discount for a price of £12.20, which is really good. That works out about £3 a game. This includes the original Jak and Daxter trilogy, plus the combat racing game as well. These games were amazing on PlayStation 2, and they're still great today. If you like old school platformers, you really can't get better than these. This is one of the best 3D platforming series that ever existed on PlayStation. It's essential for anyone that likes 3D platformers, it really is. Check them out, you'll love them, they're great. Another game for Souls fans, the Surge Augmented Edition. It was released in 2018, so it's 2 years old, and it's on a 75% discount for a price of £6.24, which is really good, because it includes over £20 worth of DLC, including 2 expansions and 5 equipment DLCs. This is basically a futuristic Souls game, where you augment yourself with 3D exoskeletons and technology rather than magic and abilities. So if you like Souls games and you're looking for something similar but different, take a look at this because it's really good. And it's at a decent price with a lot of DLC included. Next up is Unravel. It was released in 2016, so it's 4 years old, and it's on an 80% discount for the low price of £2.99. This is a puzzle platformer with a pretty unique art style. It was a pretty big release when it came out, and it got really good reviews. This game is a really high production value puzzle platformer, and it had a pretty decent sequel too. So if you missed out on this little gem, you might just want to pick it up. It's a cheap price, and you'll get some decent fun for that. Vampire is our next game. It was released in 2018, so it's 2 years old, and it's on a 75% discount for a price of £8.74. This is a third-person action RPG, where you play as a doctor who becomes a vampire in early 1900s London. This game got rave reviews when it came out, and people think really highly of it. So if you've been looking for a third-person RPG, or you're a fan of vampires, you definitely should look at this because you may just love it. And our final game is Wipeout Omega Collection. It was released in 2017, so it's 3 years old, but it's a collection of games that were on PS3 originally, so they're older than that. It's on a 70% discount for a price of £8.99, which is really cheap. This bundle includes Wipeout HD, along with the Wipeout HD Fury expansion, and also Wipeout 2048. Wipeout is a legendary sci-fi racing series that's basically F-Zero, but better and on modern hardware. And the studio that made these games was shut by Sony, so there's not going to be any new ones anytime soon. These are basically the best ones you can get right now, and they are some of the best games they ever made in the series. And even better than that, the whole game has a VR mode, so you can play Wipeout in VR. And trust me, I own this, and racing through those sci-fi streets and cities in VR is unbelievable. I love Wipeout, and the VR mode is unbelievably awesome. If you have a PSVR and you like racing games, this is one of the best you can get. It's essential. Take a look at it, there's a reason it's a legendary series. You won't be disappointed if you like this sort of game. And that's all the games I have for you in the Games Under £16 PSN sale. What did you think of the games I picked? Did you think I picked a good star buy? Did I miss a game that should have been included? Throw all your arguments down in the comments and we'll fight about it later. But I hope you guys found some games you were interested in, and more importantly, I hope you saved yourselves a lot of money. I'll see you guys in the next video.